بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Apologies for starting a little late. We started already, but we couldn't connect. So, mashallah, let's just go. So, here we are where we left. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in this particular ayah that we're going to recite today, mentioned 4 tasks of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 4 jobs. And this is extremely important to understand that. 4 tasks of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned 3 times in the Quran. Job description. The first ayat is the one that we just recited, which we recited before we came here. ربنا وابعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياتك ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. Look at the green bit. يتلو عليهم آياتك ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم. I will explain that in a minute. This is Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 129. Now look at Surah. This is لقد Surah Al Imran, ayat 164. لقد من الله على المؤمنين إذ بعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. لقد, indeed, من الله, Allah showed favor. Allah did ihsan, man, Allah favored على المؤمنين, upon the believers. إذ, when he raised فيهم, among them, rasulan, a prophet, min anfusihim, from among them, from within them, from themselves, yatlu alayhim ayah, who would recite upon them ayatihi, his ayat. Ayatihi, and it was ayatika because they were making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibrahim and Ismail alayhi salam, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, raise among them, within themselves, my children, my family, raise among them who? A prophet who will recite to them your ayat. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing that indeed Allah has done a favor when He sent to believers a man, a prophet from within themselves, from you, from human beings, from your tribe, from Arabs. Yatlu alayhim ayati, he who recites his ayat, Allah's ayat. This is in third person form, not second form, the first ayat. And وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, and he does the tazkiyah, he purifies them. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمْ, and he teaches them al-kitab, the book, wal-hikmah, and the wisdom. And the last ayat is Surah Al-Jumu'ah, Surah Jumu'ah. هُوَ الَّذِي بَعَثَ فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ. He is Allah, He is the being who sent fil ummiyin, inside, within them, ummiyin, the unlettered people, the Arabs. Rasulan, a prophet, yatlu alayhim ayat, who recites ayati, his book, wa yuzakkihim, and he purifies them, wa yu'allimuhum al-kitab, and he teaches them al-book, the book, al-kitab, wal-hikmah, and the wisdom. Wa in kanu min qablu lafi dhalalin mubin, and whereas before they were in the clear misguidance. Those 2 ayat, they have exactly the same form. يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ. Yeah? In this one, the one we are going to recite today, it has second person form, not the third person form. Yeah? So what are the 4 tasks of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Maqasid, job description, tilawatu ayat, tilawat of the ayat of Quran, recitation of Allah's Quran. Means when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down Jibreel Amin with the revelation, He would make Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam learn it. As we discussed last week, how it would be. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever he would get revelation through Jibreel, the 8 different ways. The most difficult, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, is the one when I hear the ringing bell in my ears, and then non-stop. Sometimes you would describe it as the humming or the buzzing of the bee. When bee does the buzzing, the humming, something, humming, whatever. So keep constant noise. It's very irritating for us. He said that it would be very difficult. We cover that, why that was. because that's not the topic. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tried to memorize very quickly, moving his tongue. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran in Surah Qiyamah, لا تحرك لسانك لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Oh Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do not move your tongue. He wouldn't loudly recite, but would try to, copy it with the tongue, just to grasp those words so that he keeps it and doesn't forget. Because I've been given this task, I need to pass on to others. What do I do? Allah said, don't worry. Your job is only to listen. Pay attention. Just listen to it. لا تحرك. Do not do حركة. لسانك. Do not move your tongue. لتعجل به, so that you can hasten it, quicken it, quickly get it. Don't worry. إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه. Indeed, it's our responsibility that we would set it, place it in your heart. We would do the collection. We make it in your heart. It would just be settled there. You would never forget. And we make it easy for you to be able to recite. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would hear attentively, and he's happy with that. He doesn't need to revise. Look at this. He has to have that special favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ثم إن علينا بيانا. And then it is up to us. We will teach you how to explain. Tashri will come to you. You do not need to think about anything. You will get that automatically. You are unlettered, we know. But you become lettered, you will be the Imam of all creation. The knowledge, everything. So this is his task number one. Whatever Quran he gets, he has to read it, recite it back to the people. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would recite Quran to Sahaba, and they would note it down, and they would memorize it, learn it from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whatever portion has been revealed in Ramadan, would recite that with Jibreel Amin. They would do the dawr every year in Ramadan. Whatever has been revealed, Jibreel would come, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Jibreel would have mudhakara of that. The sabaq. In the last year, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had it twice, 2 completion of whole Quran. So that was first task, and we'll cover that because there's a lot of important points there. Ta'aleemul kitab. Second one, yu'allimuhul kitab, and he would teach them the book. So ta'aleem of kitab means what? To explain the meaning, to explain what it says. All the discussion about the sharah. That is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whatever he explains about Quran, that is what it is. So his teaching. That is why he said, "Ana innama bu'ithtu mu'alliman." I've been sent as a teacher, only as a teacher. Innama has got that only in it. Hasan, we call it. I'm only sent as a teacher to teach, to make you all learn this and practice. And you do not stop there. You learn and practice, but you do it with ikhlas, sincerity. And sincerity comes only with tazkiyah, when you purify your heart, when you clean your heart, rid of all the bad traits. This is called tazkiyah in the Quran itself. Qad aflaha man tazakka. Qad aflaha man zakkaha. What does that mean? Successful. Indeed, the successful are those. Most definitely, the successful are those who are the one who purified his heart and got the tazkiyah, purification of the heart, and that is the goal on its own. So the next is ta'aleemul hikmah. Hikmah, wa yu'allimuhumul kitaba wal hikmah, and he would teach them the hikmah. Hikmah is wisdom. Wisdom means hadith. Hadith of Rasulullah means he will give you the explanation and give you some of his teachings through his saying, through his action, through his approval. So saying, doing, and approvals of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are called sunnah or hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's some difference, subtle difference, but one and the same thing for this discussion so far. And final one is tazkiyah, where you zakkihim. Tazkiyah in this ayah that we are reciting today, inshallah, ayah 129, is the last of the 4 jobs, but it doesn't matter. In other, it is before. Okay. After Tilawa comes Tasbih. So why that order? That's a different time for different discussion. But here you just should know that there are 4 tasks of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To teach them Quran after reciting it to them and purify them and teach them the wisdom, how to live in the life, day-to-day activity, everything according to Sunnah. So now look at this ayah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا وابعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياتك. آياتك. ربنا, oh our Lord. Rabb, Lord, oh Lord, na our. Well, and I mentioned it. Where did we get this O from? Is implied. Whenever you have Rabba with a fatha or Rabbi with a ya after that, they're all with ya hiding there. Okay, it's quite common in Arabic. To be honest, in each language, you don't keep saying, well, how do you call your son? You say, Ahad. You say, oh, Ahad, come here. Every time you say, oh, Ahad, oh, son, no, it's a son here. Hussein here. So come, Umar, do this. This is how you do, without saying oh before that. So that's how it is. But it means that that's there already. رَبَّنَا وَبَعَثْ and ib'ath, raise, فِيهِمْ, in them, among them, within them, Rasul and a prophet, minhum, from them, from human beings, from within them, their nation, their tribe, everything. Yatlu, he would recite, who recites, alayhim, upon them, on them, ayati, plural of ayah, signs, sorry, ayatik. Is it ayatik or ayatik? I thought it was ayatik, so there's a mistake I did. So ayatik it should be, and it should be signs. Signs, plural. Ayat is plural of ayat. So it should be with S. So I will correct it down. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. And yu'allimu, he would recite, or he would teach. He teaches, or he would teach. Hum, them, al-kitab, the book, and al-hikmah, the wisdom. And yuzakki, yuzakki him, and he would purify them. Innaka anta al-aziz al-hakim. إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. Indeed, you, indeed you, and you are, more emphasis. Al-Aziz, mighty. Al-Hakim, very wise. The wise, the mighty. So this is why दुआए खलील नवीद मसीहा, कभी सुना है ऐसा उर्दू के शेर में? दुआए खलील नवीद मसीहा. शेर व शायरी से भी थोड़ा शगफ होना चाहिए, अच्छी शायरी से. Good poetry is good, is very good. It actually, so this is the praise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he was dua of Khalil. Who is Khalil? Khalil is Ibrahim alayhi salam. Naweed, what is Naweed? Naweed, news, good news. Masiha, who is Masiha? Isa alayhi salam. So which? So dua Khalil, where is that dua Khalil? Rabbana wa ba'ath fihi. This is dua Khalil. This is the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He will do, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, get a prophet, ultimate prophet. And this is Rasulullah. Nabi the Masiha, the where is the glad tidings from the Isa alayhi salam about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Which surah? Second? Ahmad, yes. Which surah? Where's Ahmad in Quran, guys? You've done that. उज़ैर का है, याह्या, बताओ भाई 28वें पारे में कहाँ है वो? वही قال عيسى ابن مريم يا بني إسرائيل إني رسول الله. You got it. So that's what you got it. They know the ayat obviously, but so من بعد اسمه أحمد. There's only one Ahmad in the Quran. In Surah As-Saf. Okay. Just 28. So he said, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, send, this is what he said. This is, there would be a prophet come among you. His name will be Ahmad. In Surah As-Saf. So he would be two. Ibrahim alayhi salam prayed for Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Isa alayhi salam gave the glad tidings. Now, the important issue, which is how much and how often should you recite Quran? There's a hadith of Bukhari and Muslim both, Sahih hadith obviously. Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about Quran recitation. He said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, read the Quran in a month, means whole completion in a month. Now you know where it came from? Abdullah ibn Amr said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I can do more. A month is too much, too long. One juz a day. Look at the attitude. All the students, just pay attention. Arif, look at that. Listen, everyone. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, leave yourself for a minute. Listen to what I'm saying. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling the companion, a young companion, your age, 15, 17, a little bit older maybe. So, oh Abdullah ibn Amr, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, obviously, recite Quran and do the completion in whole month. One juz a day, that would suffice. He said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I can do more. Increase it. So Rasulullah said, okay, in 2 weeks. 1 week, finally he said, after 1 week, I can do more. Every time he would say, okay, in 2 weeks, can do more. 1 week, can do more. He said, 3 days, then can I do more? Stay at 3. What does that mean? Every day, 10 juz. So he accepted that and he did 3. Every 3 days, he would do the completion. He was very young. He passed away. Rasulullah, when he passed away, he was a teenager. So obviously he wasn't told this at the last minute, some years before that. 10 juz a day. And most of that, 70-80% of that in tahajjud. He would just do that. All Sahaba would do it in tahajjud, standing and reciting 10 juz in tahajjud. With contemplation, with attention. They would just spend their hours. It takes 8 hours for a hafiz to complete whole Quran. So 8 hours, long time. But they would do even slower, because we do about 20 minutes, roughly, one juz. So they do very slow. So 10 juz, a lot. Throughout the day, but most in the night, in the Tahajjud. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's a hadith which hints that there should be a daily portion of Quran that we recite. Daily portion of Quran. So for example, when you have a day off, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, whatever day, and you don't recite any Quran, you're not being a good boy, a good person. Because you should do some Quran every day. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companion Abdullah ibn Umar bin Khattab, this is Umar, he is narrated, he's saying it, but marfu'an means he's saying, obviously he learned it from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying, Man nama an hizbihi min al-layl, whoever overslept, he couldn't wake up, he couldn't do the tahajjud, he couldn't do the tahajjud, he couldn't complete his recitation of the day. For example, he decided whatever he decided, maybe 1 juz, but he couldn't do it. Or 3 juz, or whatever juz he decided every day, and he said, I would wake up for tahajjud and do it. And lo and behold, he couldn't wake up on that odd day. What should he do? He misses 3 juz, 1 juz, 5 juz, whatever. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, oh, an shay'in min, even if he didn't forget all of that, some of that, He did one juz during the day, two juz for the night were, supposed to be in tahajjud, and he couldn't wake up. Whatever portion, some portion. فَقَرَأَهُ, then he woke up and, oh my goodness, I missed my last day's recitation. So فَقَرَأَهُ, when he recited, مَا بَيْنَ صَلَاةِ الْفَجْرِ وَصَلَاةِ الظُّهْرِ, between Fajr and Dhuhr. First thing in the morning, Dhuhr, before Dhuhr time. If he did it at that point, Rasulullah said, كُتِبَ لَهُ كَأَنَّمَا قَرَأَهُ مِنَ اللَّيْلِ. You'll be written as the individual who has done at night time. He accidentally couldn't wake up. Human being can, have problem with waking up. So he wanted to wake up, but couldn't wake up. But his passion was that I wanted to do it. I missed it. So when we missed a day in madrasa, a little bit late, and there was some job to do, some cousin came, I was with a friend, dad didn't let me, or I couldn't, then I stay at home and I enjoy it. I do not realize at that time, I have not gone close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I missed my time. I have to make up for that. My goodness, they're going ahead of me. They must have recited, they must have done a lot of reward, they got a lot of barakah. I couldn't do it because I was unwell. So I was away. Now what do we do? Next day, let me just catch up with that, so that I'm ahead of others, or at least at the same level to some degree. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because his intention was, so he would get the reward as though he'd done it in tahajjud prayer, as his normal practice. So what does that mean? That suggests that you should have a portion every day. Not fard. If someone doesn't do it, they will not be sinful, but that is how it should be. That's a good attitude. So majority of Sahaba would do it completion in 7 days. Other would do in 3 days. Few would recite in 1 day. Now there's a hadith about it. I'll come to that. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah says you should do twice a year. One in Ramadan, one outside of Ramadan. In 11 months, you should do one completion and one in Ramadan. And he got it from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's last year recitation completion with Jibreel. How many times he did? Twice. He did twice in the last year. Every year once. Imam Malik said 40 days, 40 days. You should complete every 40 day completion from cover to cover, which means practically 1 juz a day minimum. Little more, little less, whatever, but 1 juz. Why? Because especially for the sick days, unwell days, special days for women, so keep it. So 10 extra days he just gave, which means how many Quran in a year? 9 Quran. Okay? 9 Quran in whole year. That's a lot. Imam Shafi'i, he says twice a year. If that's minimum, you could do more, even better. The Muslim should recite the Quran twice. If he cannot recite it more than that. And then Imam Ahmad says it is disliked to recite the whole Quran over a period of more than 40 days without a valid excuse. If you did not have a, this is dislike action. You couldn't even complete a whole recitation of Quran in 40 days. What is your commitment to Islam? So there is basis for that. That's why Imams got it. Now there's a question. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the person who reads the Quran, whole Quran, in less than 3 days, he has not grasped its meaning. It's too quick, too much. 10 days, 10 juz a day, you won't get understanding of that much. What does that mean? The hadith in Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, and Ibn Majah Sunan are Sahih hadith. So people quote this to say you shouldn't be reciting in less than 3 days. So those who've done in one night, as though they have not done the right thing. What's the answer to that? The answer is simple. And we'll come to that in a minute. But there are certain Sahaba who say the same thing. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, read Quran in 7 days and do not read it in less than 3 days. Narrative, it said, that's the green one is the reference. Leave it for the time in the interest of time. Mu'adh ibn Jabal, another companion, great companion, he said, he regarded it as a makruh to read the Quran in less than 3 days. Ibn Kathir, one of the Imams of olden time, he said, More than one scholar among the early generation regarded it as makruh, mildly disliked, to read the Quran in less than 3 days. And he mentioned some of the names that, as you could see, not, because they've been hiding behind it. So Abu Ubayd, Ishaq ibn Rahawayh, and others. So how could then we say that we can recite those? There you go. Imam Nawawi rahmatullah said, as for those Sahaba who completed Quran in a single rakat, they are innumerable. Imam Nawawi is a great Shafi'i scholar. He said there are many, because there's so many. And then he quoted some. Uthman ibn Affan, third kalim. Tamim al-Dari, Sa'id ibn Jubair is Tabi'i, actually, not a Sahabi. Abdullah ibn Zubayr. There are many others. So how would Sahaba do that when it is considered dislike? So answer, let's have a bit of idea there. Qatada, this is one of the Tabi'i. And this is Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, one of the greatest of the Imams of Ibn Rajab. He is now saying it. Qatada, one of the great of Tabi'in and Tabi'in. Great Imam. Mufassir. He regularly used to complete the Quran in 7 days. In Ramadan, he would complete it in 3 days, every 3 days. And in the last 10 nights, he would complete it every night. And first 20 days, he would do every 3. So how much would that be? Roughly 18 days and maybe 9. So 6 or 7 just then, and then 10 there. 16 or 17 completion in Ramadan. This is Imam. Imam al-Shafi'i would do 60 Quran, 30 every day, 60 juz. One completion, 8 hours during the day, 8 hours during the night. All the Ramadan, just Quran, recitation. Imam Abu Hanifa would do the same. And there are many, even today, and I know personally, that they would recite in Ramadan, one juz every day. From age 22, 23, 24, Huffaz, obviously, they have to be husband. One Quran, whole completion, 30 whole completion. That is strange. Less than 3 days. So that's the point. The narration says, Rasulullah said, what does he say? It's haram to do it. He said it is not permissible to finish reading the Quran. Is that what he said? No, he says he does not understand the meaning. When you recite like this, you are not focusing on the meaning of Quran. Rather, the idea is to read it and get reward and barakah and blessing, actually connection with Quran. When you mention someone, something, some words, so often that becomes part and parcel of your life. Then you get connected to it. Then you feel like being with that. You bond with it. And then you start understanding it better. Once you have connection, that is why the disbelievers, they teach Quran sometimes in universities, but they do not get hidayah. Why? There's no connection. Understanding alone doesn't help. Knowing and know it. Google knows a lot of Quran. It can translate and give you all the. It doesn't help the individuals, even if they have done PhD on the subject of Quran, they could tell you everything. Artificial intelligence could do better job. But that doesn't help anyone. What helps is connection with Quran and then working accordingly. It does not mean that he will not be rewarded for the recitation of Quran. And Rasulullah said, whoever recites one letter, he will get 10 rewards. And then he said, I do not say Alif Lam Mim is one letter. Alif is one, Lam is one, and Mim is one. But 30 reward just by saying Alif Lam Mim. So obviously, if you recite, the more you do, the more reward you would get. And in the Ramadan, it becomes that much more blessed. That has been the practice of Ummah. Only in the modern time, you would find people, It's very important to realize that, because Usman ibn Affan, as I mentioned, about another reports about others as well. This last point, oh, that's that point I would cover in the. Shall I just say one a couple of minutes? Just a couple of minutes on that. I haven't prepared this one. I think next week would be better for this with some quotes. The whole idea of Quran is what? To understand the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is that the whole idea? After that, practice. With that, practice. With that, part to others as well. Impart the knowledge to others as well. But you cannot do that if you do not have faith, iman in the Quran. You cannot do that if you do not have connection with Quran. And that is why recitation of Quran is paramount. If you cannot recite Quran properly, or if you do not recite Quran regularly, even if you know how to do it, you cannot understand or can not get the true understanding of Quran. You may get the idea here and there. It would make you either more arrogant, because I know something you don't, even if you can recite properly, what's the point? Because this is unlike any other book. This is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his dream. Strange thing, isn't it? Never heard before. Many times. You can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a dream. Not as a phone, Allah hasn't got a phone. You just be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in his dream, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every time he feel that I'm in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, Ya Allah, what is the best action to you? What is the most lovely action to you? Most beloved action to you? He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Quranic recitation. Quranic recitation. Imam said, Oh Allah, with meaning or without meaning? With understanding or without understanding? I said, with understanding and without understanding. Means both. Both are perfect. But keep reciting. So obviously for scholars it's easy, for Arabs it's easy. Sahaba was fantastic because they would understand no matter what. But the idea is not when you recite the Quran that much to understand. Idea is to connect. And I give you example, practical example. What is talbiyah? Talbiyah. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Labbaik la sharika laka labbaik. What are you saying? Oh Allah, I am present. What is there? And you know what is that? You just say that. Why do you keep saying? You are there in Kaaba. You're there in Makkah, Mina, wherever you are. Arafat for Hajj. He's saying, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik. Oh Allah, I am present, I am here. Allah, I'm present. There's no. What is that? What is there to understand and learn? Do you do a lot of research on that? Because love dictates, you glorify it. Keep mentioning the name. Through that, you get actual, what we call natural love. With practices, following the steps of someone, following the command, following the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, following the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it gives us a degree of connection. And that is more to do with our prescriptive connection, more official connection, and which is good and enough. But you want them, if you wanted to have a heart-to-heart connection, where you yearn. Have you ever cried for Rasulullah? Have you heard this incident? It has been quite popular. I think many people now know it because my daughter told me about this. She inquired about it. There's a book about, there's certain things about that. There's a quote of the king, not king, but the Khalifa, the last Khalifa of, maybe second last or third last, but someone from Uthman, the Ottomans, Uthmani Khalifa, Khilafat Uthmani. So they had a very great Khalifa called Abdul Hamid. He was really a great man. Once he was visited by a man who he didn't know. Maybe he knew. He said, "Oh, I came from Makkah Umrah, Hajj. I'm just here, and I visited Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. And I saw in my dream, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke to me, and I had a need. I was making dua for that throughout. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had me this opportunity. So I was making this dua, and I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in my dream. And he said, go to my Abdul Hamid and ask him for help. Abdul Hamid, when he heard that, he started crying, shaking. Say again, what did he say? He said, go to my Abdul Hamid. Like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam calling me my Abdul Hamid. Means that's the connection, that's the confidence. He started crying, and he started giving money after money. Like, give him more, give him more. And he said, repeat the dream again, and he would repeat, give him more. The man then nudged him, the vizier. He said, already given, like, one pouch was enough. They've already given 5, 10, 15 pouches. He kept asking him to recite, keep crying for that. Why was that? Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in someone else's dream say that go to my Abdul Hamid. That's a big confidence Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had in this man. Do you imagine that? He said, my Abdul Hamid. Keep from his own account, not from Baitul Mal. That's the love one has to yearn for Rasulullah, to yearn for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to meet him. And that can only come when you are not in this relationship of master-slave. That's important so that we are on the track. Love bond comes when you are in a true sense, his servant, slave obviously, but his beloved as well. Allah becomes your beloved. Rasulullah becomes your beloved. And then you start following every step. Abdullah ibn Umar would sit on his journey to Medina from Mecca. He followed the same footsteps when Rasulullah migrated the first time. He asked the men. Now remember, it was how Rasulullah traveled, because he was being chased by people. He had to somehow outmaneuver them. So he went down south. So he's in Mecca, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Down south. Where's Medina? From Mecca. Up north. So because they were all going to follow him, 100 camels, that is, anyone who gets him dead or alive will get 100 camels. So he dodged him by going down, people going down south, because they all ran towards north, up north. Obviously, there are many and they're faster. And he's got this two, a camel for him and a camel for Abu Bakr, which is Abu Bakr's camel for both. So they went down and hid in the cave, which is down south, for 3 days. After they've already gone, and then they returned back, then he moved. So, but then they realized that they came down. They couldn't actually, Suraqah would come, and he tried this way because he was clever enough. He saw some footsteps of camel. So Abdullah ibn Umar, many years later, now the path is clear. You can go straight down. He asked the individual who took Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, got some idea from him, and traveled down south, the same track, went to. And you know what? He got off wherever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam got off to answer the call of nature, even if he didn't, he just sit down. Just to assume that posture, just to imitate him. And if he needed to say, I would go where the next station is, because where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, dismounted the camel. It's not sunnah in that sense. You don't have to do it. This is all love. One of the companions, he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam without, he saw only once, and he didn't have his button done. He looked at them and his father, both of them together. From that time on, when they came back next time, they would never ever button their top button. So someone said, we saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam hundreds of times. He always had it done. It was just, incidental. He said, you do what you've seen. I only saw him like this. And that's, for me, is the impression. I just want to imitate him for that. And we find it difficult to even keep beard. We find it difficult to even wake up for tahajjud, which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam highly emphasized. We find it difficult to perform 20 tarawih. Cut it down, cut it down. Perhaps don't even know I'm tired. I need to do it. And we'll come home for tiredness, leaving after 8, or not coming at all on my phone for an hour or so. Because I was tired, that's why I left. Our connection with Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is only very much business-like, not emotional. There has to be a balance between both. Don't just go with emotion and not following it, and don't just go with, master-slave type relationship and not having any connection or love for Rasul. May Allah give us tawfiq. Quranic recitation is the ultimate thing for Ramadan that will connect us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Quran. May Allah give us tawfiq. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه.